All right, welcome back to the episode of Unranked Podcast. Today's July 15th. A couple things we got going on right now is really pretty much on the back end of free agency. We'll talk through some of the new additions, a couple of departures we also had as well. But great to see Duncan Robinson and Caris Levert back in the mitten, playing for the Pistons now. So we'll definitely dive into that. We'll also dive into NBA Summer League. Ron Holland been showing out a little bit. Second round pick Chaz Laney been doing pretty well. Dennis Jenkins, he coming for somebody's spot. Don't know who's yet, but got a lot of guys playing some really good basketball on the summer league side of things. We'll talk through some of that as well. But yeah, I think for starters, yeah, I'll kick it over to you and just wanted to see your thoughts on free agency overall, and then just Duncan Robinson and Caris LeVert joining the Pistons now as well.
Yeah, no. So I think we've been off. My apologies on that. Life has happened the last couple weeks here, but no, we think we have not spoke about kind of the elephant in the room, and that'd be Malik Beasley and that whole situation. I think that completely derailed whatever we thought we were going to do during going to free agency. I think we
Yeah,
thought we had locked up best 3-point shooter in the league as far as at least last season, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, he didn't finish one. He finished second, but he had 100 less attempts. So as far as I'm concerned, you were one.
yeah,
So I look at it from that point of view, just how much that probably derailed whatever we thought we had going in, and kind of probably put us in a bit of a scramble mode where I don't know if Levert or Duncan Robinson gets a call or an offer if we sign back Malik Beasley.
hmm,
So that's kind of the first thing that pops in my head. But I do think in general, it was a way to we kind of scrambled, but I think we landed well.
for sure.
We tried our best to try to manufacture whatever Malik Beasley brought us, and I think we did a pretty good job with that with these two players. Duncan Robinson, we know what he is, just a 3-point shooter. You go look at his career stats. He has like 3,500 career field goal attempts, and 3,100 of them are threes. So
Yeah,
he,
39% last year.
yeah, he's like a designated hitter in basketball. That's what he's coming in to do. We all know it, the stands know it, and the other team knows it, and it's still hard to stop. He's still hitting, hovering in that upper 30s as far as 3-point percentage made. Last year, hit 190 of them. We know he's a stick on defense. So really, what we're looking for him is he's going to be the heat check. He's going to come in, hit to shoot three threes. If you hit one of them, you're staying out here. If you miss all three, we'll see you next game. I think that's
Yeah,
kind of what his role is going to be. Levert is a much more interesting signing to me as far as um, we love Levert. If he would have stayed healthy at Michigan, he would have drug us to another Final Four. He just could not stay healthy at Michigan. He's had great stints. Whether it was with Brooklyn early in his career, he had a couple of good seasons with Cleveland over the last couple of years. Landed in Atlanta at the tail end of this year, and every stop he makes, he's about the same player. Very dynamic, kind of a combo guard, like a 1-2, probably more of a two, but if you want him to run point, he could get it done.
mhm,
I think I love that signing for just what we're doing and having him be a deflex, whether he can come off the bench or start if needed. I think that is a great combo. And just to wrap it up for him, it looks like last year he shot 37% from three, hit another 106 threes. So, um, I'm not saying we're playing money ball necessarily, but if you add both of those up, that's 10 less threes made than what Malik Beasley did last year.
for sure.
So I think that's kind of what they were looking to do of continue to stretch the floor. We've seen the success that Cade has, the team has with that. And that's kind of the signings on that. But long story short, I think that Malik Beasley kind of threw a wrench into whatever we thought we were going to do. We probably thought we'd get Malik Beasley and then let's go get like a lower level stretch four. And I think we had to hit panic mode to make sure that our 3-point necessities were still met.
Yeah, I think I give a lot of credit for Trajan. Uh, thanks to Troy Weaver, we don't have a whole lot of assets, from a draft standpoint. So I feel like that's probably kind of handcuffing us as well. Even though Langdon said we weren't going to be taking no big swings, but we don't really have a lot of second round picks. Like there's a lot of stuff we're kind of missing out on when it comes to that. So I think you did a great job, because you and I talked quite a bit about how, Malik Beasley had such a great season that we wouldn't even expected him to like manufacture that season again. The amount of threes he hit. I think he did a good job of getting two guys that are able to shoot the ball as well. Just around as well as well they did pretty well for what they do, especially in Duncan Robinson. Um, and I think, especially when it comes to Duncan Robinson, I think he has a little more versatility to his game than what Malik Beasley had, in my opinion. Watching a lot of Miami, like the playoffs a couple years back. I mean, him and Bam, they do that pick and roll off, off the three, or kind of like pick and pop, hitting that three pretty efficiently. I can see him doing that with Duran, quite a bit. And then I think with Caris Levert, I think he gives us like another like element of like getting his own shot that I think we missed immensely in the playoffs last year. Like Beasley was off, he was off. And like going to the rack, like that's just not his game. I mean, he's pretty much trying to hit a three. It's not there. He's passing it out, trying to find a way to get open for another three. Hardaway kind of the same, to where these guys just weren't really that great off the dribble, to where I think Caris LeVert, he can play a little bit of the point guard if you need to, play a little bit of, play the two, play the three as well. And just a guy that can just like, play off ball, like when Cade, is just kind of tired, needs some rest from having the ball the whole game, and give it to Caris and kind of let him create shots as well. So I think another way, put a pause on this, we got bigger. Duncan Robinson, 6'7", 215. Caris LeVert, 6'6", 205. I think Beasley was like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". Hardaway Jr., 6'3", 6'4". I don't think these guys are like defensive stoppers by any means, but I think they just kind of, you can just see how a lot of teams are built in the NBA nowadays. You have like a lot of wings and that 6'6" and taller, just kind of helping us like mold our team into more of like what you see around the NBA. We got a lot of wings and like a lot of taller guards that can shoot the three and do a lot of other different things. So I can see, Duncan Robinson, coming off pick and roll with Duran, or a little handoff, dribble handoff, throwing a lob to Duran, making an extra pass out, hitting the three. I think Caris can do the same thing, to where it is going to make us a little bit more versatile as we go down through the season. And I think lastly, I'll just kind of add on it too before throwing it back to you. Um, I know for sure like Duncan Robinson's contract is like basically like 2 year, like 18 million. Like it's
Yeah.
not like as big as what, like I don't think the third year is like guaranteed or something like that. Like it's not, and like I think the second year is like half guaranteed. Had to look a little bit closer into that, but um, there's tradable contracts to where if we are either sputtering or we're overachieving around the trade deadline,
Yeah.
we can go get another piece that can help us out a little more, a little bit more. We got that flexibility there too. So I do give Trajan, a lot of credit for just having to pivot. I mean, literally last second. I think that dropped like the day before free agency, and he did a good job of getting some good players.
No, 100%. I think you made a great point with just the. I'm not going to say Malik Beasley was just like a designated 3-point shooter. Like I think he had a little juice to his game, especially after he hit a couple of threes. He started feeling himself.
Yeah, get to the paint a little
But
bit.
I think taking these two players that we Duncan and Levert, you do a good job of just kind of taking what he did and adding to it. You get the best of both worlds, because I think Levert, like you said, he can create shot, he can create his own shot. We know he can do that. He might do that. One of the better guys on our whole team, honestly. He can,
Yeah.
if you get him to go on, he could average 20, 23. I feel safe to say, if you gave him the ball in his hands, just said go score. I think he's
Hmm.
one of the guys that he can, and probably get you like 22 and 6 or some shit. If you really let him go out there and cook. So I think you got that working for you. He is a 6-man of the year contender type guy. Especially if we're really rolling and he has a solid like 25 to 30. Yeah, I don't know how many, by what, 24 to 30 minutes off the bench or something, where he gets to run the second unit for like over half that time, and then kind of play with the starters a little bit. Like you said, kind of play pick and pot. As far as you want a big lineup, you have him at point, or him and
Play
Cade
next
kind
to
of.
like Ivy, or play
Yeah,
next to Cade. Yeah.
yeah, either one of them. I feel great about both of those. I think him and Ivy would be interesting to see together. I think if you had them out there,
Yeah.
but him and
That'd be
Cade.
But
Yeah, him and Cade seems like a match made in heaven as far as they can each do a lot of the similar things and take the pressure off each other. Looking at, I mean, just top down, looking at the starters, Cade, Ivy, Thompson, Stu, Duran, I feel pretty great about them. Levert, Ron Harper, Duncan, Paul Reed. We do need, I think you mentioned before we hopped on, we do definitely need a little more size in that front court. Um, or just another good solid body in there. I think we, you know,
yeah,
we got a very solid rotation. I mean, I already left out, I left Sasser off of that list, but I do think he might be the odd man out. As far as just, I think I even said this a couple weeks ago. I don't know. We
it's an
seen
odd,
how we
it's an
seen how
odd
much his
fit.
minutes, yeah, just an odd fit, and we seen how much his minutes disappeared once we got Schroeder on the team. And then just
Mhm.
how having a solid veteran point guard, um, he just kind of got on the outs. And I think you got you're looking at Jenkins balling out in preseason. You got Robinson, or not Robinson, but Levert can kind of play the 1-2. Cade obviously at the one. That's a crowded room already, especially if
Yeah,
you're not going to do what you're supposed to do best, and that's just go out and score. Um, so I wonder kind of what we can do with him. I don't even know if he's worth much of a trade as far as being able to get something worth talking about. But I think that depth at that 4 or 5 position, we need somebody that can, quite frankly, hit the three and stretch the floor a little bit.
hmm
So I don't want to steal it, but you mentioned a PJ Washington before we hopped on. Somebody like that, I think, would set us to that next little tier there, where that roster is kind of looking like complete.
for
And I'm
sure.
not saying we're going to do that anytime soon. I think, like you said, we have enough solid pieces on this. You take this into the season, and Tobias Harris, you might be on the out or whatever. I think we actually I left Tobias Harris off the list altogether. So we do actually have a little more depth at that four-ish position. But I think we could do better is what I'm
For
looking for,
sure.
especially when you consider Thompson. Um, it's going to be a starter because just as his defensive prowl, and if he can hit a little more threes, it's over. If Ron Holland is coming in looking hot, I think we that just makes that point guard room a little more hard to break into, or that guard room, I should say, just a little more tricky to deal with.
No, I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, we're in a great, interesting spot. I think we have a couple people that many teams want, including Tobias Harris, uh, Isaiah Stewart, Levert, Duncan. I think you can pick up the phone and get rid of them for a solid return at any point in time now until the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think another name, and this was, a week ago as far as like addressing, a need at that forward, just getting a little bit more depth in that front court. I think it was Chris Boucher. He played for the Raptors last year. He averaged like 10 and 4, 10 points, 4.5 rebounds, shot 49% from the field, 36% from three. Um, that was a name that I kind of heard about, but I do feel like, man, like, I kind of even forgot myself. Like, Ron Holland, about 6'8", 205, Ausar 6'7", 215. We might see some of these guys at the four. You know what I mean? Just like
yeah,
kind of seeing what they can do. Because I do think in today's league, like I thought it was kind of funny on Twitter. You kind of see people talk about double big lineups and how like they're like almost like a lost art. To
mm-hmm.
where you will see kind of a lot of lineups with a five and a lot of guys that are just like in that six
Interchangeable.
six to
Yeah,
like 6'9", height range that, they're not just like your old school, like, your Tim Duncan, just, what I'm saying, down the block, just like, punishing, defenders to where, especially like where Sarr is at. I mean, they've said he's gotten stronger. It might be a situation where he might be able to play like Cade. I'm thinking maybe like Cade, Levert, Robinson, Ausar, Duran. Some lineup like that. That might be not enough defense, but just kind of like an example of like some of the lineups where you can see like Ron Holland there. At that spot. Somebody gets into foul trouble or something, or we just need to give Tobias a break. So yeah, I mean, I think at least how I feel, obviously free agency, you can sign whoever you want up until, I mean, you can sign whoever you want when you want. And I do think there's like a spot there that does need to be addressed at some point, whether it's later on this summer or a little bit closer when the season starts, or we just do something from a trade standpoint. But um, we do have some good versatility there. I think they might be trying to kind of wait and see about what we can do. What guys on our team can do to kind of fill that void.
Yeah, I think Trajan Langdon said it best a couple weeks ago, as far as just developing the young talent. I think they don't. I think that's their primary focus. I think they believe we have the core here to build a championship squad,
I
and I think
agree. Yeah.
the rest of it is just putting the important but smaller pieces around. If those main three or four guys are developing at the rate we think they will, and it's just the rest of it's just kind of playing um chess or checkers with the rest of the pieces. And we mentioned the bigger lineups for small lineups. I do kind of think bigger lineups seem to be like OKC, for instance.
Yeah.
Couple 7-footers. Indiana wasn't little. New York, big as fuck. So I think it is kind of trending in that direction a little bit, but I also think it's the age-old question, or at least the question over the last 10, 15 years. Do you want to shoot your way out of it, or do you want to play defense out of it? And I think
Hmm.
um, I think with, I think we can do both really and still have a championship type team. So I think it's really whatever avenue you want to go down. Because if Cade, Ivy,
We can play Stewart and Duran
Levert,
together.
Duncan, Robinson are all shooting 37% north from three, we don't got to have that many threes from our power forward. We can have a couple big bodies down there and really get the
Hmm.
rebounds and do that. Or if um, Ivy doesn't come out the gates as hot as he was last year, or Cade goes on a cold streak from three or whatever, I think then you got to have the pickups from everybody else. So I think we can kind of pick our poison as far as that goes, as how we wanted to build the roster out.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything too crazy. I really I wouldn't mind picking up another depth spot here, but just heading into the season, let's see where we are. Let's take a couple of temperature checks. Let's see where we are like December 15. Let's see where we are January 15. And then let's really evaluate like February 15 right by the trade deadline. I think,
Mhm.
what December we should be 20, 15, 20 games in. If we're, you know, first 20 games, if we're, 13-7, I feel kind of good about it. If we're 9-11, okay, let's try to figure out what's happening here. Um,
Sure.
and I, I and I think you take that temperature a couple different times into the season and try to figure out, okay, who needs what? Okay, I always throw this out here, but Laurie Markin, he's on the move. Can we go get him? Or, hey, Dallas just has way too many guys on that roster and they're looking on load. Let's go pick up one of them guys. I think that's kind of how we play it, where it's best to our advantage, where we're not looking to push the issue, where we it's kind of like we take the approach, we're cool with what we have. Um, what are you guys thinking? Versus, hey, like, hey, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Let's push an issue. I think we're in a cool spot. Um, and we cannot say this enough. We got the MVP type player in Cade. It's um, and I truly believe that we have especially as he continues to progress, we have a chance as he gets better with lesser talent around.
Right.
I think it's a matter of mixing them together where we're not looking like in 3 years. It's not like a Giannis situation where like Cade wants out of there. They ain't been out of the first round playoff since he got there. Hopefully, it's more of a like an OKC situation where it's
We
these
add to
guys
the
all
pot.
kind of move together up the
Yep.
championship ladder. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, man, like I got like Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland's like stats up right now. I mean, I think one of these guys ready to, if not both, ready to just take like a serious step. I mean, I like Ron Holland, 6-2-1 in 15 minutes a game, off the bench last year, playing, yeah, 15, 16 minutes a game. I think like Trajan just kind of like, you already kind of saying it, just like, let's just kind of see
yeah,
what goes on. We don't want to have too many minutes taken up, by too many guys. And,
yeah. I mean, if
he
he
also,
averaged 6 and 2 in 15 minutes,
yeah,
you could probably safe to say if you double the minutes, he's probably hovering around 14-4. I mean, that's
yeah.
not bad at all. That's
And
especially if
that's
he
just
gets
off of like,
up that 3 point a little bit. Yeah,
right, open three, he's a good hustle guy, he's a lockdown defender already. Like, just, He's trying to trust him and Ausar, both from us guys. You don't got to run plays for them. They're just kind of out there and go get theirs,
Yeah.
just off of playing tough
They'll figure
defense.
out a way to get to the ball, whether they're running
Right.
the lanes and getting and picking off
Catching a lob.
passes or getting lobs, good cleanout rebounds.
Yeah.
Uh, and I can think of off the top of my head, like all I when I imagine Ron Holland, all I see is him just getting tangled up with the ball and dunking on people. Like you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like so he's a real bulldog type player where he's in the middle of it. He doesn't mind the smoke, he doesn't mind getting dirty, and I think you got to have those type of players. And Ausar Thompson, offensive game a little more polished than Ron Holland, I would say, at least last year. And arguably a better defender, a little more versatile. And we've seen
Hmm.
he's what all of 21 years old going up against Brunson in Madison Square Garden and holding his own. Couple of times he got on some skates, but that happened. And I think as you get put on skates in Madison Square Garden as a 21-year-old, that I feel good that in a year or two, when we're in a similar predicament, you're vice gripping, you're lockdown defense.
Sure. He'll
You've been
remember
there,
that.
done that. Yeah,
Yeah, he'll remember. I mean, that three that Brunson hit with like .5 seconds left, in game six. I mean, I'm sure that's been
that's on replay.
getting him out of bed every morning, to go get better. So it's exciting. I think more than anything, I'm glad to just kind of have to talk about more what we got coming up. Then obviously we'll dive into summer league, but sometimes summer league will be like the be like the highlight of this off season. you know, Watching, looking at top five picks, what top five picks
Yeah.
came in, what players we have to look forward to the season, how much better they can maybe add to how much, what they can do to add to our team. But now it's like you got guys just waiting to take that next step. I mean, if Ausar, Ron Holland, and Jaden Ivey all just take another step and just get 25% better, I mean, I think we're looking at 3 seed, couple guys. Maybe a couple guys getting all-star, nods, all defense. I mean, I think Ausar would have bought all defense if he would have played enough games. He only plays 59. You got to play 65.
And
So
Isaiah Stewart got screwed on all defense on a technicality.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
really, like you said, that's two all team defense. You got all NBA player in Cade. Uh,
Duran,
if Thompson, not Thompson, but Ivy. If Ivy can come back to anywhere where he was, like you said, he got some awards coming his way. I mean, he's very exciting. So I think we really do have the pieces around it. It's kind of crazy
hmm,
how fast things turn around. And I don't want to. You mentioned before, I think before we hopped on, for next year, way too early prediction. But what would be considered a success or a failure? And outside of the progression of the players, I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking for. Is I we have to make the playoffs. I think
for
that
sure.
outside of that, if we can make the playoffs, I want
Four
to win
seed or
one.
higher.
Push a little higher, but more importantly, everybody takes those jumps where Cade is 28, 8 and 8. Duran is 17 and 11 or something. Whatever that looks like for every individual player. High tides rise all boats. So I think you take that into account. And I just feel great, man. I think we got the young juice in here. It's just a matter of figuring out who's going to take those next steps, and even if they do take the next step, do we want to keep them or is it better to move them?
Right.
Not that I don't want to give up, but let's say theoretically, Ron Holland. Sorry, let's say theoretically Ron Holland comes out next year, 16-7, and we can go get somebody for him. Does it make sense to do that, or do we want to keep him to see what we have? I think it doesn't
Oh,
hurt anything just helping develop these young bulls, and going from there, man. I think we got to tip our hat to Langdon and JB Bickerstaff. I have not watched. He's on a podcast. I keep seeing clips. I haven't watched it yet, but just seeing how he's talking and he's from the clips I've seen. He is really boots on the ground, 10 toes into this, and I love that from our coach. I
sure.
love just the identity the team has.
I mean, that's the thing back to when he just like got let go by Cleveland and flew out to LA to go meet with Tobias Harris before he even had a job. Like he just
Mhm.
saw that we had a young core, and he saw Cade. It's all we can do. And I mean, he's been bought in ever since. I mean, night and day difference. We were so excited. We got Monty Williams. We didn't really understand what we was getting ourselves into. But you see the
No,
difference
nobody
in the
could
guy
ever
that
have anticipated that. Like you
right,
just it would be like signing, knock on wood for us, but it'd be like signing Duncan Robinson for him to shoot 17% next year. You're like, I'd never
right,
get that. Okay, you have a
right,
shot. I don't think this would happen. Like he's out there just going through the motions. And we could talk about this all day, but just having Killian Hayes out there, like he was like having Killian Hayes out there, like he's one of these young guys we were talking about when it was so obvious 2 weeks into the season that if we drafted this kid and he ain't it, you know.
right. Yeah. And I
Uh,
think, I mean, how many games did JB? I mean, you think about how many games he might have won us just off of like coaching,
yep.
just having guys in the right position, call right plays at the right time. But yeah, no, it's been
Cooking up some
exciting.
crazy shit for them inbound passes and
Yeah.
um
One of,
just really putting his foot in as far as like he's not you see that he wants to win. And I think that's so overlooked when it comes to just people running your team or even the players. Like if they are truly invested, and I don't, it can cost you sometimes, but I like a coach to get pissed at some bad calls. I don't want the coach to be
yeah,
like,
sorry. Get
you got
ejected
to
every
play
now and
around it.
then.
You got to play around. It's like, no, like,
Yeah.
okay, that's true too, coach. But also, you go get a tech so we know you all on our team. Like
Right.
you set this place off for the next 5 minutes during the TV commercial, and maybe they'll think different about making another stupid call at the end of the game. Versus
1000%.
just, hey, you gotta play around the refs. Like, no, I always hated them type of coaches. Like,
Yeah,
we know that's
absolutely.
true. But also you go show us how much you can, you know. Uh,
Yeah, not with you there. I mean, I think, we got a coach that's bought in, got a top 10 NBA player. We got a lot of guys that are just waiting for their turn. And yeah, I mean, I truly, I like to do my comparisons. I truly think we either got a Kawhi Leonard, a Paul George, Jaylen Brown type player on the roster between, Ron Holland and Ausar Thompson. I think we're going to end up seeing them start to grow and develop and turn into an all-star once we got, and yeah, and I think it's going to be one of the things where it's like, pick your poison. You have to worry about Cade, you got to worry about Ausar, you got to worry about Ron Holland, you got to worry about Ivy, you got to worry about Duran, to where, yeah, we'll end up being one of these next teams to take another jump, getting that second round, and then chips fall the right way, might find our way into the conference finals in the next couple of years as well.
yeah. I think that's the natural progression of the squad.
Hmm.
To slowly work up towards that, and just I think Cade put a stamp on who he is in the league last year. But I think you really solidify back-to-back All NBA seasons. You're here to stay. Obviously another All-Star bid. You're here to stay. Picking up another All-Star on the roster is entirely within swing. I think Ivy's could be on that list potentially.
Hmm.
Duran could be on that list potentially. I think we got um, and just people having spectacular seasons that would never get to shine. Thompson can come in this year and be, like you said, be all defensive player. If he can give us what his brother does. I think his brother averages like 14 a game. If he could do that,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah. Look out. And
uh,
I'm looking at this 3-point percentage real quick between these two. Ron Holland, 23.8% last year. Asar, 22.4. You let that even jump around to like 30 to 31.
yep,
Like
night and
it,
day.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, it's really gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be exciting. So
yeah.
we'll be definitely
Anytime you get above, let's say 32%, you got to respect them. You got to
right,
respect that. Yeah, sub 30, they don't even got to go out there to defend you. But if you
right. He's
can
playing the
hover
numbers,
around
yeah.
that, yeah, that 31, 32%, you hit enough of them where it's going to stretch that floor.
Hmm.
Um,
And they're gonna
yeah,
take that playoff experience that was not, wasn't really expected to come. And yeah, like I said, I know a lot of them guys been working it. I mean, they got a lot of guys on this team that got a lot to prove. I'm just excited to see how it all comes together and how they all gel together as we go into this next season.
no, so it's here. It's here. I mean, obviously, football will get here first, but I think basketball will be here before you know it as well. I mean, they start
Oh
playing in
yeah,
late October. So I think we
yeah,
enjoy this, see what comes. NBA similar to football where it never sleeps, something's always happening, somebody's always on the move.
right.
And I think just it's we're in a great spot. Just sit back and watch it, have some fun. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, bro. We dodged. I want to say we almost dodged. We maybe dodged the bullet with this Malik Beasley. That would have broke a day later after he signed the $43 million deal. We'd be sitting here
About
having
to
a
say,
whole different conversation
I
about
mean,
how we got 15
blessing in
million cap
disguise.
space gone. Um, yeah,
Yeah, might be a blessing in disguise. We'll see how things turn out, and you never know. Might be able to get him 1 year, 8, 9 million. Just because of he might be able to sign later on into the offseason or something like that, just because of what he's got going on. He gets cleared from it.
right. It would be like
Um,
a Miles Bridges situation, kind of like Miles Bridges got into that craziness, lost his
Terry Rozier
lost
was
his
also
max deal. A year later, he's back on the team. Nobody ever talks about it. I think he beat the
yeah.
case. Nobody ever talks about it. Um, and
Terry
yeah,
Rozier too is
here,
accused of the same
which I
thing.
almost text you whether you thought that'd be worth signing, but I think um, due to how just kind of the free agency shaped up, I don't know if it makes as much sense now. But initially, I wasn't mad at that at first. But I also don't know if we want to jump on a guy just getting cleared of gambling
Right.
from a guy who we just getting
Just
into it.
getting
But
into investigating for it. Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll see. Might mess around and he might come back, be able to play for us, seeing how things kind of turn out. But yeah, this is a good episode. It's kind of jumping back to. I feel like it's kind of like a summer break. You know,
yeah,
Even like some of the big podcasts, you don't see them putting out much content around this time of the year. So I think it was a good time to. Now we're gonna be, Lions starting 31st preseason football. Got a little more summer league. Next 4 or 5 days here. Pistons play a couple more times, and um, yeah, good.
Michigan football review coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
schedule
no,
prediction
ready
for
for it.
them and the Lions.
No, for sure. Yeah, we back on the grind. You got anything else for the people?
Oh, that's all I got. Back with y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.